Good morning to all of you. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Namaste experience on this beautiful Friday morning where we begin our celebration of the 6th-year anniversary of Namaste Village. Isn't that exciting? You know, I remember when we first walked. Well, first of all, for those of you who don't know the story, maybe some of you in the Zoom room or even people here, of how this came about. I wasn't going to talk about this, but why not? Because guidance always leads us to the exact right moment, the right place, to be with the right people. So I first moved to Ahihik just over 10 years ago now. And I bought a little house behind the Walmart, and I was living there for about a year. And at that time, I don't know if you noticed, but I don't tend to go out and party. I stay within a lot. So I didn't have much community. I didn't know many people. And around a year into my stay here, my daughter gave me some wonderful news, which was that she was making me a grandparent. And that's how Penny came about. So I decided to go back to Portland and to help her. And I rented my house. But about a month later, I was leading a retreat here. So I had to come back, and I couldn't stay at my own house because, of course, it was rented. So I decided to stay at a B&B that I found. This was the B&B, and it was the room that Amrit is in now. That was the room I stayed in. And I remember looking around. It was just the area that we call the village. It wasn't over here in the forest or in the garden, just this area. There were about 10 rooms, maybe 11. And I was looking around, and I felt, I didn't just imagine, I felt the energy of this. I felt the energy of and the intention of this amazing opening and these amazing people. And I spoke to I can't remember his name all of a sudden. Skip, thank you. I spoke to Skip, who was the owner. He had really had all of it built over the years. And I just said, Skip, if you ever want to sell this place, please let me know. This would make such a beautiful spiritual community. And you could tell that he was done working so hard, and he thought about it, but in the end he decided he wasn't ready to sell. So I went back to Portland and kind of forgot about it. But about a year and a half later, I heard that Skip had passed away. And once again, I figured he has 3 adult kids in Florida. They're going to probably want to sell this as quick as possible. So I stayed in Portland for another 2.5 years, probably. And then I came back, and I just thought I would be living at my other house. But one day, Jai had just bought the villa. And so I went up to the villa to see it, and he showed me around. And on the way down, I remembered, oh, this is that street that it was called Angel Flores Guest House that it was on. So I thought I'd walk by, see what was going on. I was sure that it had already been purchased and it was probably still a B&B. And I was amazed that after 2.5 years, it was still for sale. And so I called up my realtor, and she said, well, actually later on, I just went and rang the doorbell. She said, just go knock on the door and ring the doorbell. And Skip's son, Todd, was here. And when I told him who I was, he said, you're not going to believe this, but just earlier today, I said to someone, we need to find that guy who tried to buy it from Dad 3 years ago. He's the one who should buy it. And ding dong, there I am. Ding dong. So that's how it happened. And that's how miracles happen, right? Next thing I know, I meet Jeff, and I meet some other people, and I was able to purchase it because they were very motivated to sell at that point. And on December 1st, 6 years ago, we moved in. And on the first day, we had our first dog, Gracie. She was here with us on the first day. And then things evolved as the miracle always expands, right? The miracle never contracts, it expands, it extends, just as Namaste Village has expanded. Because one day we used to look at that wall that was there, and on the other side of that wall was just a forest, just trees and shrubbery, nothing else. And we used to look over there and think, gosh, wouldn't it be great if we could get that and build casitas? Well, next thing you know, this couple shows up for our morning session, and chatting with them afterwards, and they said, well, we own that land next door. Oh, really? What are you doing with it? Well, next thing you know, we get that, the casitas get built. Some of you, we have it's at least several people, and Julie and Bonnie, and a few of you, and Bethel were among the first people to begin renting there. And then something very similar happened in the back. The miracle continued to expand, and we were able to build the apartments in the back. So we went from 11 tiny little apartments to 41 in 2.5 years. That must be a mark, that must be a miracle, a record. That's what I'm thinking. It must be a record in Mexico. Things don't usually happen that fast. But once again, that's the expansion of the miracle. So we have all felt that miracle expanding within us, right? And now that miracle extends to include all of you who are on Zoom or watching on YouTube or coming from all over the world. We have people who just arrived from France and from other places because the miracle continues to expand. Isn't that beautiful to know that we are expanding? Because most of all, we are the miracle. The miracle is each one of us. So I just thought I would share that little story as we begin our session, since this is the anniversary. So this morning, we're going to share just a little bit more from Ananda Maya Ma. We've been talking about her off and on for a couple of weeks now. And there was one more subject that I found that she talked about, and that is one of your favorite subjects, I'm sure, mind training. Don't you love to talk about mind training? All right. But before I get too far into that, I was thinking about people like Ananda Maya Ma or Yogananda or the master teacher who we have pictures of here. And I was thinking, what is the difference between the quality of their mind and intention and say, those who are coming into that, those who are progressing in that direction, okay, through mind training. And I thought of a lake, a very large lake. And like Lake Chapala, for example, it's a murky lake. You can't really see deep into the lake, but we've probably all been to lakes before where it's so clear, you can see right to the bottom. There's no impediment. There's nothing to block. And this is the difference. A mind that is fully awakened has no sediment to block the vision all the way to the very deepest part. Whereas as we progress in this direction, we have to work through and clear and filter that sediment. What is it going on over there? Did you ask them to cut a little quieter? The mind training is filtering through that sentiment, that sediment, so that we can be that clear lake. There's nothing blocking the light. How do we do that? Well, Ananda Maya Ma, one of the main things that she talks about is devotion to the divine, the love of God. She talks so much about simply repeating the name of God with love, with passion, with devotion. So she's going to talk about that here. But let me read this quote. Loving attention and reprimand are both necessary for the education of a child. Do we believe that? Sometimes a child needs to be reprimanded. They have to be told no. They have to be told, focus your mind. Yeah, we all need that, don't we? A child that is never reprimanded is, guess what? A very spoiled child. A mind that is not reprimanded or brought back to the focus on only love, only love, only God, only now. We've been saying that so often. So once again, loving attention and reprimand are both necessary for the education of a child. The mind has to be similarly trained by frequenting the company of sages, saints, and seekers after truth, by harboring only pure and noble thoughts and emotions, by listening to religious discourses, or by reading books of wisdom. You will be provided the right sustenance for the mind, inwardly as well as outwardly. Gradually, you are able to get rid of all the shortcomings until at last you find your rest in the Supreme. So in our analogy of the lake, these are the things that help us to gradually filter through and filter out all of those erroneous beliefs and ideas that we have claimed. That's the sediment in our mind. That's what blocks the light or blocks us from seeing to the very depth of who we are. And we have an opportunity to do that here every day, to look into the eyes of each other, to truly see one another exactly as God sees us. This is really ultimately the only mind training we need, the active looking and loving of the beloved in each other. Now, some of us may have beads that just help us to remember to just keep repeating that name, to keep focusing on the beloved. Or maybe your signal is just whoever's standing in front of you, to realize that whoever is standing in front of you is the Christ, is the beloved, not in some metaphorical sense, but in reality. If you're looking upon Ravi or Flo or anyone else and seeing them as God sees them, you're going to feel something moving and happening within you. You're going to feel the light. That's all you're doing, is you're filtering through that sediment, those ideas and thoughts and beliefs that have kept you from realizing how simple this is. Okay, let me read a bit more. On the battlefield, one must stress self-defense rather than an offensive attack. Similarly, I can never say that word, similarly, one should take special care to fortify one's mind by being in the company of, we'll say, mighty companions, and by being always engaged in good work, so that the outer enemy, the ego, in the form of craving for sense pleasures, may not be able to intrude. The mind is its own friend or foe. The mind itself has to destroy its own ignorance. The easiest and most effective means for purging the mind is to associate with saints, mighty companions, and seekers after truth. And here she goes, to ceaselessly invoke the name of God. To ceaselessly have the name of the beloved, the thought, the love of God in our mind, and then to extend that. Remember what we said before, the miracle always expands. The miracle extends itself. That's because the miracle is the essence of God, of the beloved. And all God really does is continue to expand and extend love. And when you do the same, then of course you come into a direct experience that you are one with God. This is the mind training that we're called to do. And we have every opportunity, every moment to do just that. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Vicki now and hear what she has to say about mind training.
Okay, Brother James. Good morning, everybody. So nice to see everybody. It's Friday. It's a full hour for those of us that stay for Scott. Two things came up. first, I want to say blessed anniversary to Namaste, and to you, James, and to every brother and sister that has come there. You have blessed the whole world with your inspiration, with your example, with your love. And I want to say a special thank you first to Yogananda for seeing that location was a portal, a place for centering and living in the heart. And a special thank you to Bethel, who I believe is probably in this room right now, because it was Bethel who took that and felt the presence and the coming of Namaste, much as it is today. So for her vision and her steadfastness, and she moved there waiting for you to come, waiting for you to knock on Skip's door. And I want to thank you too, because my first visit was only a few days from now. And I came with Claire and Steve and Bill and Lisa and Elaine, who lives there full time now, with Jack, who is living there. And we came to bring you a statue of Mary, the Blessed Mother, and to bless this whole endeavor and to join you in the blessing that was happening day and night. So I just want to say thank you to God, the Holy Spirit, to Mary, all the angels that fill all of us and have landed in that particular place here in time and space to sound the trumpet of happy joining and awakening. So it's just a great gratitude and salute to you and to all of Namaste, because we are one in this endeavor now. All of us that here, there, listen to the replay, all the rest. So I love you all and thank you. And thank you for giving me a home from that day on. So I thank you. And then the second thing is Martin, who is on our call most days, usually I think on Zoom, sends out a little love message every day. And today's message was very much in sync with what you read from Anandamaya Ma, and it's from Rumi. And the quote is, "As you live deeper in the heart, the mirror gets clearer and clearer." And of course, there's a great quote in the Course in Miracles that says that also. It says, when we can make our mind a spotless mirror, then here it reflects heaven on earth, literally. And I love and I'm not going to quote you exactly, but it was something to the effect that she said, Nandamaya Ma, that the mind destroys its own adversaries. Was that correct? And it was that right, James?
I'll have to look. I'll be right back.
Okay. But the idea is love, which is a higher frequency, it doesn't so much destroy as melts away. It's much like a candle lights a room. It doesn't attack darkness. What was the line, James?
It says, the mind is its own friend or foe. The mind itself has to destroy its own ignorance.
Good, its own ignorance. It does it by being the light that is radiating at a higher frequency, much like the laws of love. Those are the laws of grace. They radiate at a higher frequency. They don't destroy the laws of the world, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. They make them ineffectual. They make them so that they are not in the way any longer, so they don't matter. And by grace, whatever does matter, we come to organically, naturally. That's why often we don't recognize the miracles, because the extensions are so natural. The way the forest came about and the garden came about, it was the next natural breath. But it was quite miraculous. It was all a higher frequency planning that was received first in your heart, James, in Bethel's heart, and Yogananda's heart, that gave expression and gave that vision a place to land. And that's what we are all doing. We're making the mirror of our minds spotless, so that anything that comes up, it's like, there's a line Jesus says, listen, there's one thing you've got to learn it well, overlearn it. Don't think there are any exceptions. The one rule is whatever upsets you, whatever you think is wrong, you are never upset for your brother's sins, but always for your own. So Doesn't that put the mind right where it can be solved? I'm upset about my own guilt or sins that I'm not conscious of. So, and the solution, don't do anything. Don't try to fix it yourselves. Here's the remedy, 911 Holy Spirit. 911 comes right in, rushes in. And as we say, please, I see this, show me what this is. Show me, help me. And love dissipates. It dissipates the adversaries. It dissipates the ignorance. It dissipates what already isn't there from our awareness. And much the same as staying, living with a focus of love. Because as soon as we bump into one of our own judgments against ourselves, it bumps that love right out of the picture. That's the power of will that we have. So why would we want to bump love out of the picture? Instead, let it come up, welcome it, receive it, don't run away from it, don't ignore it, don't pretend it's not there. Welcome, 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 and give it to 911 Holy Spirit. 911 Holy Spirit, that's what faithfulness is. Faithful in the power of the Holy Spirit, that grace dissolves ignorance. It isn't our job, it's our job to own it, take responsibility, only because it is our will to have believed in these things, and it is our will to let go of this belief. And the Holy Spirit does the rest. Couldn't be an easier formula. It's like living in Santa's workshop. You got a broken toy, bring it to an elf. He'll take care of it. It all works. Anyway, that's what it brings to mind. And living in love is living every day with gratitude and looking at everything. It's a look and see way of life, not a judge and figure out and solve and this and that way of life. It's look and see with real eyes. See, I see the love busting out of the trees. I hear music coming from heaven through the birds. Listen, look and see. We look with holy eyes and we feel and see only holiness. And when we don't, 911 Holy Spirit. Pretty easy solution. Thanks, Brother James. Thanks, everybody.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Vicky. You're on fire this morning. Oh, you're even getting applause here. That's saying something. I love that. Look and see as opposed to look and judge. See with capital letters, to see what is really there, to see only love. This is the only thing this is how we realize who we really are, by seeing that everywhere, as opposed to judging it everywhere, which is the ego's primary goal, to judge everything, to keep away from the simplicity of salvation, to distract us from seeing how easy this is and how joyous it is. Looking and seeing the divine, the beloved in everyone, in every situation, no matter what, is the most joyous thing you could ever do. It fills you up like a hot air balloon and you lift above the world and you fly. And that's what we're here to do. So Vicky, thank you. Thanks to all of you. Have a blessed day. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to turn it over to Scott. But let me thank you, everyone.